Salam and hi, my name is Elisya SARIFAH ANAK Sampurai. My matrix number 2696881. Today I would like to present my report, which is a study on PADINI holding BERHAD in Malaysia. My report title is The Effects of Liquidity Risk and Market Risk on PADINI holding BERHAD Corporation Performance from 2015 to 2019. I will go through to the overview of PADINI holding BERHAD. PADINI is a Malaysian clothing company that engages in manufacturing, trading, and supplying merchandise to customers through retailers and distributors. PADINI now has over 330 locations in 16 countries, including freestanding stores, franchise outlets, and consignment counters, and has become one of Malaysia's top 30 most valuable brands. According to the information in PADINI Holding BERHAD annual report, the company had no significant independent variables that influence the dependent variables, while the company is confronted with market risk in the market growth. The research objective has three, which is the first one is to identify the internal factors influencing the company performance. Secondly, to identify the external factors influencing the company performance. And last but not least is to examine the internal and external factors that influence the company performance. Next is research question. The first one is what are the internal factors that influence a company performance? Secondly, what are the external factors influencing company performance? And thirdly, is there a link between external and internal factors influencing company performance? And the scope of this study is the research was conducted by PADINI Holding BERHAD in Malaysia. The financial information gathered from the firm was based on the annual report from 2015 to 2019. I will talk about 5 literature review of this study. The first one is financial risk. Financial risk is defined as the potential exposure to unexpected financial and non-financial damage caused by deficiencies in the organization management of its business objective. Secondly is credit risk. Credit risk is the risk of incurring a loss as a result of a debt default, failure to repay a loan, or failure to make a required payment. Thirdly is operational risk. The loss that occurs as a result of inadequate or failed procedures, system, or company policies is deferred to as operational risk. Next is market risk. Market risk is the potential loss of the value in asset and liabilities as a result of price changes in the market, such as equity prices, foreign exchange rates, interest rate, and commodity prices. Last but not least is liquidity risk. Liquidity risk refers to the possibility that a company would be unable to fulfill its short-term financial obligation due to lack of funds. Research methodology is the data collection method will be demonstrated in this chapter. It included population or sampling techniques, statistical techniques, data analysis, and a social science statistical kit, which is a SPSS. Secondly is sampling techniques. Sampling techniques is the sample data will be taken from PADINI Holding BERHAD and the data will be collected from PADINI Holding BERHAD, which is the 5-year annual study, which is spans the years 2015 to 2019. In addition is statistical package for social science. SPSS analysis is a software platform that assists management and statistical analysis teams in processing and analyzing complex statistical data. The fourth one is the finding and analysis. This chapter will present the interpretation of these findings from the SPSS output, as well as an examination of the effect of determinants credit risk on PADINI holding BERHAD success. The research will primarily use linear regression to analyze the data. For data analysis, I will use ROA for dependent variable and 3 independent variable, which is the first one is internal factor, external factor, and internal and external factor. Take a look at the internal factor descriptive analysis. As you can see at the table, the data was collected over a 5-year period from 2015 to 2019. According to the table, the mean represented the sum of all variable values with the ROA as a dependent variable, reflecting the company output and having a mean of 0.1672. You can see in the table, the adjusted R-square is equivalent to 71.1% according to the model summary. The ANOVA tables show that there is a substantial value of 0.338 that is greater than the alpha value, which is 0.05. This implies that the dependent and independent variables have a less important linear relationship. According to the correlation in the table, ROA has a clear positive relationship with the operating margin, with an average of 0.762, indicating that increasing the assets will increase the company earnings. The table also shows that the relationship important, which is significant one tail, which is less than 0.05. PADINI holding BERHAD was shown in the coefficient table for the time from 2015 to 2019. The t-value as shown in the table has a significant impact on the company. The significance independent variables will be included in the model, as well as the smaller number of the important reflects the largest of the t-value. We will go through to the external factor, which is the first one is descriptive analysis. The table in the slide shows the descriptive analysis for PADINI holding BERHAD. The return on asset, which is ROA, gross domestic product, GDP, interest rate, and price changes were shown in the table of descriptive statistics provided STTV. According to the correlation in the table, ROA has a clear positive relationship with the operating margin, with an average of 0.762, indicating that increasing the assets will increase the company earnings. The table also shows that the relationship important, which is significant one tail, which is less than 0.05, indicating that the relationship is highly significant. According to the model, 78.1% of the variation in PADINI holding BERHAD's profitability can be explained by the model. The ANOVA table shows that there are values of 0.573 that have crossed the alpha value, which is 0.05. This implies that the dependent and independent variable have a less important linear relationship. The coefficient table on the slides was obtained from PADINI holding BERHAD from 2015 to 2019. The t-value has a significant impact to the company. The smaller number of the significance reflects the significant independent variables that will be used in the model and the largest of the t-value. The exchange rate has the greatest effects on profitability, with a t-value of 2.159 as the highest value and a number of important of 0.398 when compared to GDP, interest rates, and the exchange rates. Last but not least, let's take a look with the external and internal factor. The table above shows that descriptive analysis of the fashion industry in terms of external and internal factors among the companies. According to the table in the slides, the company has shown a high level of liquidity on average, which is sufficient to cover the liability, indicating that the company has good asset management practice, especially in terms of coverage collection period. For the external factor, the industry has been dealing with an unhealthy environment, which reflects the industry difficulties in developing in the future. The model summary that adjusted R-square implied by using the internal and external variables and dependent variables. Due to the lack of a sample data, the profitability of PADINI holding BERHAD cannot be explained by external factors. Durbin-Watson's values ranging from 0 to less than 2 suggest a positive autocorrelation, while the table shows 1.209, indicating that GDP, operating ratio, and debt to income are the most appropriate independent variables to consider as opposed to other variable factors. The results of the ANOVA table shows that there was a substantial value of 0.618 had crossed the alpha value, which is 0.05. This means that there was a less of problem. Using Poisson correlation yield the result shown in the table. The operating margin has a clear positive relationship with ROA, as seen in the table, with a percent correlation of 0.762, which is the most closely related to 1. The table also shows the relationship important, which is significance 1 tail, which is less than 0.05. The coefficient table is based on the table was obtained from PADINI holding BERHAD from 2015 to 2019. The t-value has a significant impact on the company. The smaller number of significance reflects the significance independent variables that will be used in the model, and the largest of the t-value. The exchange rate has the greatest effects on profitability, with a t-value of minus 1.517 and the fewest total of significance, which is 0.371, as opposed to debt to income and gross domestic product. In conclusion, the aim of the research is to figure out what factors affect PADINI holding BERHAD success in Malaysia. The study goals are to identify the internal and external factors that affects the firm's success, which this study has accomplished. In a nutshell, there is evidence that the internal and external variables do not have a significant impact on the company profitability, as seen in the table of correlation, ANOVA tables, and the coefficient analysis tables in Chapter 4. My recommendation to this report, PADINI holding BERHAD should take steps to prevent the potentially catastrophic losses. According to the research, a higher GDP will eventually have an impact on the company growth. In this case, it is suggested that the company engage in some market risk hedging. Since market risk is volatile and impossible to manage, the company may use forward exchange contract, currency future contracts, interest future contracts, and other derivatives to reduce the risk of company value losses when exposure occurs. So that's all from me. Thank you for listening and watching my video.